What's up all my Ewoks, it's Anna, also known as That Star Wars Girl, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the first episode of the Star Trek Picard series. Now, just to give everyone a little bit of backstory, yes, I know I am that Star Wars girl, but I have loved Star Trek almost my entire life. Yes, I saw Star Wars first, but I have a very special relationship with Star Trek. I watched the original series when I was very young, and then I watched all the movies, and then later on I watched The Next Generation, and then Voyager, then Enterprise, then DS9. So yes, out of order, but Star Trek has a very, very special place in my heart, and it's something that has been a love of mine for a very long time. I don't talk about it too much on the channel because people lose their minds when I talk about Star Trek, but I'm going to do it anyway because what I saw in this episode made my blood boil. I've seen a lot of reviews from other people here on the internets, and they were very nice about it. And, you know, something that I always felt was special about Picard was that, it's going to get a little personal, but that's what I said. You know, Star Trek has a very special place in my heart. As a child watching Captain Kirk, I loved the relationship. I love movies and shows and stories about friendships, and I loved the way Captain Kirk was able to relate and have a different type, but, you know, a very, very strong friendship with every single member of his crew, and he genuinely cared about everyone. Even when a red shirt died, Captain Kirk got upset. Captain Kirk cared. And I loved that. I loved the dynamic between Captain Kirk and Spock, between him and McCoy and Scotty, and, you know, even the little banter between Sulu and Chekhov. I loved that. And it was very, very special to me because I've spent a lot of my life alone. And so watching these things, it made me connect, and it made me see, and, you know, it taught me the values in friendship also. You know, certain times it's okay to lose your temper. It's okay to be like Captain Kirk. And, you know, I related to Captain Kirk so much, you know, as a child, and seeing, though, even though, yes, he can be reckless, he still, at the end of the day, is the captain, and his loyalties lie with the Enterprise. It lies with his crew. And that taught me what, you know, the meaning of loyalty was. And, you know, I learned that at a very young age watching Star Trek. I also, you know, the other things that were undertones for other things, and, you know, that's something that we need to be aware of with Star Trek. And it's okay to talk about politics, and, you know, that's something that in today's day and age with the access media is that they don't understand, is they want to shove politics down your throat. And it's like, one of the things is in Star Trek, yes, you do get to learn about racism, you do get to learn about politics. Heck, they had the Cold War in there, but guess what, they did that with aliens. They introduced the Klingons to represent America and Russia during the Cold War. They did that in a way that was artistically creative, that anyone can understand, and anyone can watch it and relate. A Russian can watch that and relate to Captain Kirk, even though the Klingons were supposed to symbolize the Russians. That's one of the beauties of Star Trek. When they introduced, you know, racism, they had the aliens that were constantly at war. Their planet got destroyed because of this war, because one was black on the right side and the other was black on the left side and white on the other side. And everyone on the Enterprise was like, you guys look at the same. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's black on the left side and I'm black on the right side. And they showed these type of really, you know, touchy political issues, but they did it in a way that made sense as far as storytelling. And I loved that about the original trilogy. Excuse me, the original series. Sorry, Star Wars, Star Trek. At the end of the day, it all gets jumbled. And then I was introduced to Captain Picard. And Captain Picard taught me things that I would have never learned anywhere else, and that was, in difficult situations, you always have to remember to be diplomatic. It doesn't matter if you don't like the situation. It doesn't matter if you are biased towards one side or the other. It doesn't matter if you can't stand one side as compared to the other. You always have to be diplomatic and to do the right thing. And even when you have to break the rules to do the right thing, you have to think about the morality of the situation. And that's something that Captain Picard taught me. That's something that Captain Picard taught the world. And that's why The Next Generation is such, you know, a timeless classic. Even some of the earlier seasons, yeah, they do get a little dated, but still there's that magic that is behind Captain Picard. There's that iconicness behind Captain Picard and his diplomacy and the way that he handles difficult situations. And, you know, it earned my respect. Watching this show, it was blatantly obvious that the people that were writing it, I should say very loosely, aren't actual fans of this show. They probably have never actually watched the episode. The way it seemed like me, somebody who has loved Star Trek almost my entire life, since I can remember, watching this, it seemed like it was someone that had gone through, opened up Netflix, because yes, Star Trek's on Netflix, like you can go on Amazon Prime too, it's there too, and just read the highlights for each episode and said, hey, I like that point, let me take that point from this episode and let me use that as a plot point. Also, hey, this and this and this and problems that we solved fucking years ago, let's introduce that and let's make those issues again. It's like, what the hell was I watching? About 15 minutes into the episode, and take it. When new shows come out, I understand pilots, sometimes they're not the best representation of the entire show. There are some shows where that's the exact opposite case, but as far as this, I wanted to be optimistic, and I was like, it's just the first episode. It's like, Anna, it's just the first episode. It could potentially get better, which I'm hoping it gets better. But the things that they introduced in this episode, 15 minutes in, when Captain Picard is doing an interview, beforehand, he's talking to his Romulan servant people that live with him on his vineyard. All right, fine. Captain Picard's on a vineyard. He's 90-something years old. He's supposed to be 90-something years old in the show. All right, fine. Okay, so he asked the Romulan, you made sure she's not going to ask me that question. I'm like, who is this coward? What do you mean Captain Picard is being afraid of being asked a question? The only time I see Captain Picard afraid is when Loxana Troi is coming to the Enterprise. That is the only time you see Captain Picard get nervous about something. He pulls, his little uniform jacket down, and his eyes get all big, and he's like, how the hell do I get out of that? That is the only time I see Captain Picard nervous about something. I would never see Captain Picard back down from an intimidating question. That is not Captain Picard. Captain Picard knows how to handle those types of situations because he is Captain fucking Picard. So don't give me this shit that he's afraid to do an interview, that Captain Picard is afraid of something as minute as answering a difficult question in an interview. Did you not watch The Next Generation? Did you not even watch the freaking movies? Have you ever seen Captain Picard nervous about handling a difficult situation? No, because that's all Captain Picard knows how to do. He's an expert at handling difficult situations and answering the tough questions. That is one of the most respectable things about Captain Picard, is he does not back down from that type of situation. So you're telling me he's sidestepping and worried, and he's being assured by a Romulan? Oh, don't worry, Captain. Don't worry, or excuse me, Admiral. Don't worry, Admiral. She's not going to ask you the question. I told her 3 times not to ask this question. And what happens? Oh, God, look, she asked the question. Of course, the Access Media little agent lady is there, and she's in Captain Picard's fucking house, disrespecting him. How fucking dare you go into Captain Picard's house and disrespect him? And, I know that people in the media are sneaky, but you don't get to a position like that by doing shady shit like that. You just don't. You can go watch any famous interviewer throughout history. They know how to manipulate you into a corner, and they know how to ask you those difficult, uncomfortable questions, and they know how to do it without defacing themselves, and without making themselves look bad in it, because that's going to ruin their reputation. How this lady that's putting Picard on the spot like that, yes, you get your 5 minutes of fame for putting Captain Picard in an uncomfortable situation on live television, but guess what? Do you think you're ever going to be able to interview anyone again? Fuck no, you're not. You're not going to be able to interview someone like that, somebody on Captain Picard's freaking level. So that right there, I'm like, woman, you just lost your fucking career. Yeah, they might bring you back on, some of those tabloid news stuff, but you're never going to be taken seriously again. No person with any self-respect will ever allow you to put them in that situation again. You just ruined your fucking career right there. And it's like, I was watching this, and, my blood was boiling. I'm like, what is going on? And the way, Captain Picard has, an emotional reaction like that, he's upset because, for whatever reason, in this universe, because we're dealing with J.J. Abrams' universe, so even though it's not in the Captain Picard timeline that J.J. Abrams did, with the whole nebula, or excuse me, not nebula, the star went supernova and blew up Romulus. All right, and my head, because when I was watching interviews about this, they were talking about Remus, or excuse me, they were talking about Star Trek Nemesis, and I'm like, okay, and that's when they really highlight Remus, and, they bring in Captain Picard's clone, and, Tom Hardy and whatnot, and I'm like, okay, so Romulus got destroyed. What about Remus? Did they ever talk about that? All right, so the whole thing with Captain Picard and the issue that he had with Starfleet was that they found out about the star going to be supernova. Captain Picard and Starfleet agreed to help help Romulans that, were gonna be refugees from the fact that their planet's destroyed. I'm like, all right, do they not remember that it's the Romulan fucking empire? There's thousands of planets. Hundreds, if not thousands, of planets within the Romulan Empire. Not all of the Romulans are on Romulus. Yes, it sucks that is their home planet and it's getting destroyed, but they're all not there. And then they talk, oh yeah, millions died. I'm like, don't you mean billions? We're on planet Earth and there's 7 billion fucking people here. You're telling me that in the future, there wouldn't be billions of people on fucking Romulus? But whatever, fucking millions of people died. Alright, so Picard's big thing was that he, Starfleet agreed to go and help the Romulans, and so Picard was behind that. He disobeyed orders because he wanted to go help them, but the synthetic beings, because apparently there's a million datas out there, apparently the synths, they betrayed everyone and they attacked Mars. And I'm like, Mars is right fucking next to Earth. You're telling me you didn't have better security for fucking Mars? And then they're like, oh, well, the sky, the atmosphere on Mars is still burning because, the synthetic organisms, the synthetic life forms, they went rogue. And, now it's illegal to have synthetic life forms. Also, this is why, the stuff with data. And I'm just like, so you're telling me you didn't have any type of protocol or sorry, I'm still recovering from my sickness. My throat is bleh. You're telling me you didn't have any type of protocol set in place for Mars being attacked. Mars, which is so fucking close to Earth. You're telling me you didn't have any kind of protocol. Also, you're telling me with the billions and billions of dollars worth of technology, you don't know how to fix the fucking atmosphere. And it's like, all right. So you're in the future. You're in this idealized futuristic world, which is Star Trek. That's one of the beauties about Star Trek. Star Wars is the lived-in universe, while Star Trek is the idealized universe. All right, you're telling me that in this universe where all strife has been solved, it was solved back, in the original series when that one was premiered. There's no strife on Earth. Everything has been solved. We're a united planet. We're in the United Federation of Planets. All right. So you're telling me in this universe, even farther in the future, we're in the next generation. We're even farther than when the next generation aired because, they're a lot older now. Picard's in his freaking 90s in this. All right. So you're telling me they had no idea. There was no type of warning signs about, the synthetic organisms, synthetic life forms turning on them. All right, now they're outlawed in the Federation. They're not allowed anymore. They did the bad. They attacked Mars. What was on Mars that they wanted? What reasoning would the synthetic life forms have for attacking Mars? Doesn't make any sense. That has not been introduced. That is a really big problem. If you know their motivations, then we will know, what the problem was. Why would they just attack Mars? And apparently they lost, and apparently they're outlawed. There's no more synthetic life forms. Data's not even in the picture anymore. Except, Mary Sue herself, that was introduced in this episode, is a synthetic life form. Spoiler alert. And so you're telling me that for whatever reason, they went rogue and they attacked Mars. Where did they get the supplies? Well, why have we not solved this problem? Why was there not better security? All valid questions, right? But guess what? Not a single one of them gets answered. All we get to see is in the first 15 minutes of the fucking show, Captain Picard is getting insulted by the Access media in his own home, and he, snaps. And then Mary Sue herself, which we were introduced to, is, she's right off the bat, oh, you're amazing at this. Oh, yes, I just got into the Daystrom Institute and I'm going to go study about cybernetic shit. And it's like, all right, her alien boyfriend dies. And then she goes into attack mode because these Romulans, which you find out at the end of the episode, these Romulans are coming into this girl's apartment while she's making out with her boyfriend, which is some of the most horrendous acting I've ever seen in a Star Trek show. And it's so forced. It's so... what's the word, like a novella. That's exactly what it's like. And my friends, my friend's grandma, she's always watching novellas, so like when I see it and it's like it's in Spanish, so it's like I don't speak Spanish, so it's like blah 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 blah. Oh, I love you. That's what it was. And I'm just like, oh my god, I'm watching a novella on fucking Star Trek. All right, fine. Boyfriend dies, she goes into psycho ninja mode and defeats the Romulans, and then some weird shit's on her eyes. All right, so she's an android. Just like I fucking said months ago, when the Star Trek trailers were coming out, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, look, it's Lau. It's Data's daughter. And I was like, oh, look, it's Data's daughter 2.0. Guess what? Fucking right. I called it months ago. Is it Lau?
She's in
I don't know, I feel like it's loud, but I know that I'm wrong. Months ago, I saw this actress, I was like, oh wow, they didn't even freaking change her hair. Well, yeah, they got rid of her bangs. So, Data's daughter 2.0 just shows up at Captain Picard's house, because guess what? She just got attacked in her apartment in Boston, her boyfriend got murdered. What's her thought? Let me go to this complete stranger's house that I just saw on TV. Somehow his address is publicly listed, which, you know, in today's day and age, it's easy to find out where people live. You know, doxing is a thing, swatting is a thing. You can find out something if you really wanted to, but apparently in the future, Captain Picard has absolutely no security whatsoever from keeping weirdos from showing up at his house. So, he's sitting there with his dog. Guess who shows up? Weirdo number one. Mary freaking Sue, and this is my name for her. Data's daughter, Loud 2.0, she's Thing 1. So Thing 1 shows up at Picard's house on his vineyard. She's like, I've been looking for you. My boyfriend got attacked, and I saw you on the TV, and it felt like I knew you. And, you know, you're my hope. I feel safe with you. Captain Picard, not even a question. He's just like, well, yeah, he does kind of question her, but he's just completely fine with her showing up at his house, completely unannounced. It's not like, hey, who the fuck are you? How the fuck did you find my house? I know for a fucking fact, and yet, yes, she's in her 20s. The actress is 21 years old. I'm assuming that the character that she's playing isn't much older. Captain Picard is not a fan of children. We have seen that on the series, you know, and they don't even hide it. Even Deanna gives him shit all the time for the fact that he doesn't like kids. We saw how he dealt with Wesley. Captain Picard does not put up with Mary Sue type characters. And, you know, when somebody does show up, yes, Captain Picard would sit there and would listen, but he would be very stern about it. He would be like, calm down, explain to me the situation so he can understand and he could process all the information, and then he would handle it. He's not going to all of a sudden be, oh, I'm your it's like as if they knew each other, and that's why I said it's like a Mexican novella. It's like she's coming there going, blah, 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 and then Captain Picard's just like, oh, adios mio, oh, yes, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, why am I watching a novella? This is supposed to be Star Trek. This is Star Trek with Captain fucking Picard. Admiral Picard. So, Admiral Picard is dealing with this girl. They have this little talk. They're sitting out on his porch. The Romulans are both there. They talk about her necklace and how it's an unusual necklace. I'm like, it's really not. It's not an unusual necklace. I was looking at it and I'm like, it looks like she went to the Gap. Everything that she's wearing, I'm like, it's the Gap. But like maybe an edgier version of the Gap. And yeah, she's got a necklace that you can probably find at any Claire's or Icing's or Macy's, because if it's a little bit higher end with the metal and whatnot. But there was nothing unusual about it. And then she's like, oh, I left my home because my boyfriend got murdered, and I'm here with you because I feel safe. And they don't talk about anything that happened. They don't discuss, you know, who she is. Picard doesn't ask her shit, and I'm like, who the fuck is this man that I'm watching? And it's so hard to say that because I'm like, it's Patrick Stewart, it's Captain Picard. I'm looking at this man and I'm like, I grew up watching you. I have so much respect for you. You taught me so much in my own life. What am I watching? And I'm like, why is he not asking her these questions? I'm not Captain Picard. I'm not, you know, this diplomatic captain that's been doing this for my entire life. And I'm sitting here be like, bitch, what? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Let me ask you these 10 questions. And it's like, let's sit here and let's play 20 questions. Because if you're showing up at my house, sure as fucking hell I got some questions for you. But none of that gets answered. Then Captain Picard wakes up after he has one of his Vision Quest dreams, and she's just not there because she left. His Romulan assistant was like, oh yeah, I was up at 5 and she wasn't there. The dog was in the bed with her, but she's gone. And it's like, alright, what was the whole point of you going all the way to fucking France to see Captain Picard? And so, and I might be saying this a little bit out of order, but I'm going with I'm going based on the things that frustrated me the most in the best order that I can remember, because my mind's a little bit jumbled still from the sickness. But, so Captain Picard decides to go to Starfleet headquarters, and I talked about this in my last Star Trek video. I was just like, alright, explain to me why Captain Picard is he was disrespected on the fucking air. Now Captain Picard is he's going and looking and the stuff, he's getting shit from the fucking lady that's one of the Starfleet head officers telling him, oh, well, this isn't your Starfleet anymore. And I'm like, you make Captain Picard wear a name badge, he's got, like, what is going on? What is going on? And I feel like I'm trying to remember this in the best order I can, because there's something else that happens where he goes and, excuse me, oh my god, my throat is killing me. He goes and he looks in he basically goes to Starfleet to go look in his little P.O. box. And I'm like, alright. So Captain Picard's got his little P.O. box. He's got a painting from Data, which in his vision quest, the painting, you don't see the face. He has a painting up, and then it's the painting and it's the girl's face, and the title of it is, you know, my daughter. So this, like I said months ago, I called it the second I saw her. It's Loud Point 2.0. It's Thing 1. It's Thing 1. It's Data's daughter. So it's right at the bat. Oh, it's an android. And it's like, oh, all right, fucking great. All right. So Data has another daughter for whatever reason. And then, so Captain Picard, I'm trying to get this as right as humanly possible. I already know I fucked this up already, but it's okay. It's okay. Let's power through my sickness. But anyway, so girl randomly calls her mom, because we cut back to the girl. She felt safe with Picard, but for whatever reason, then she left in the middle of the night because she didn't feel safe anymore. Without talking, without answering any fucking questions that needed to be asked, she just leaves. She calls up her mom, and her mom knew that she saw Picard. She's like, "What are you talking about, Mom?" And then the mom's like, "Go find Captain Picard." And so she goes. She somehow looks him up again and tracks him to the P.O. Box place. Starfleet headquarters, basically. She shows up. Captain Picard and her talk. He talks about synthetic life forms. She doesn't believe him. Then the Romulans that were trying to kill her, they killed her boyfriend in the beginning of the show. They show up. She fights with them. She did ninja stuff. Then she destroys all of them. But the last one, it's for some fucking reason. And people were like, "Oh, Romulan's blood is acid now," because the Romulan, he spits on her, which happens to be acid, and they both explode and she dies. And it's like, oh, cool. That's why I said Thing 1. That's why I said Thing 1. But people were like, "Anna, since when has Romulan blood been acid?" And I thought that when I saw it, because he kind of falls back and he's bleeding, and then he does something with his mouth, and then he spits at her, I thought it was one of those things where it's like a fake tooth that has, like, you know, the poison when you bite down on the tooth, and it's like a kill switch. It's one of those things that when I see like Russian mob movies, it's like, or Russian spy movies, it's like the little thing where they'd rather die than get taken prisoner for questioning. So that's what I thought it was. I thought it was one of those little poison tooths that when they bite it, and then I guess it turns into acid, which is a horrible way to die. But he spits it on her. Captain Picard, you know, he's 90 something years old. He got thrown back, and so he kind of watches as this fight scene happens, and she explodes and dies. So it's like, all right, she was denying the fact that she could potentially be an android. She's like, "No, my dad named me after this flower." And he's just like, Captain Picard's like, "Yes, those are wonderful memories, but, and you know, they're your memories, but you're an android. You basically just died, and your whole entire life's been a lie." So then he goes to the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa. I can't even speak. In Okinawa. All right, which is in Japan, for those of you that don't know. And so he goes to Japan. He goes and he talks to the head of the cybernetics lady, and basically she explains that Data, he's like, Captain Picard's like, "Oh, well, there's a realistic android that I just was interacting with that just died, and is it possible for you guys to make that? Like, who the fuck and he's like, "Who made this android? You know, Data did this painting 30 freaking years ago saying it was his daughter, but I need to know the information. I need to know how this person came to be. That's why he went to the Institute, to get all this information." And she's like, "Oh yeah, short answer, no, it's not possible. Long answer, no, it's not possible to do this. Except if you do this one thing where you take one tiny little cell, and then you can make androids." That was her explanation. "Oh, well, this person that, you know, he lost it, you know, our department's been shut down because how the synthetics, how they all revolted, and, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna tell you this entire time, it's not possible, except if you did this one thing, if you take one cell from Data, and then it's fucking possible." And I'm just like, who the fuck wrote this? Have you fucking watched Star Trek? Did you watch the episode The Offspring where Data creates his daughter and how fucking difficult it was for him? No, you obviously fucking did it. Didn't you watch any of the episodes with fucking Dr. Noonien Soong where he explains and how everyone that, you know, is familiar with Soong's work, he's the only person within Star Trek history that has been capable of doing this. Even when Data did it, he failed. He wasn't able to save his daughter the first time he made her. or the first daughter that he created, he wasn't able to save her because she advanced and she was able to feel emotions and it made her short circuit. But guess what? Even from that, when Data explains how he was creating her neural network and her neural pathways within her positronic brain, is he took parts of his and then he tried duplicating it so that way her brain was identical to his, and it still didn't fucking work. So you're telling me some random fucking scientist, unless it's Data, which they haven't given us that information, but based on what they've wanting us to believe, so you're telling me that these fucking scientists did this and created her with one fucking cell from Data? How the fuck does that work? Because guess what? It doesn't. Within the Star Trek lore, within everything that has been presented on how to make an android in Star Trek, from Data and fucking self, from Dr. Noonien Soong, that's not how you fucking do it. And it's, to quote Star Wars, that's not how the Force works. That's not how the science in Star Trek works. You need to actually watch and do the research and understand the thing that you are trying to duplicate, because you're fucking it up. And then, oh, but guess what? This is why I said thing one, right? Guess what? There's a thing two, because they can only be made in twins. Are you fucking kidding me? No way in hell does that make any sense. That's not even a logical explanation for why there's twins of these girls. But apparently there's another one. So, because, you know, the thing one died, so now we're going after thing two. And then we get to see thing two. She is on a Borg cube surrounded by a bunch of Romulans. This Romulan dude shows up. He's all, you know, he's got the long hair. He kind of looks kind of shady, but he's British for whatever reason. He starts talking to her, and he's just like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. By the way, my brother died. That's a beautiful necklace. And then she's like, oh yeah, I have a sister. Let's have this in-depth talk about our siblings, and let's look at each other all romantically and awkward. I'm like, girl, and you know, John Malin said it the best on the Jack Show. It's like, isn't this a professional work environment? You guys, he's showing up to work with you. You're a scientist. Why on earth is, like, within the 2 seconds of meeting each other, you guys are, it's supposed to be this setup for this weird romance. And this is why I'm like, why am I watching a Hispanic novella? Why? Why is this acting so painfully bad? And I feel like this isn't a representation of this girl's best work. I feel like she's getting directed in the worst way freaking possible. And everything that I've seen in this episode, I was just like, what the hell am I watching? And, you know, when I see other people talk about it and they're like, oh yeah, you know, these things about it are good. And I'm like, I'm upset. I'm physically upset. I'm angry for Captain Picard, because this is not Picard. This is what you want to represent as Picard to me. This is Jean-Luc Picard. He's this reject that has been, you know, dissed by Starfleet for trying to do the right thing. Are you fucking kidding me? Where in the hell was that? Even when Jean-Luc Picard goes against Starfleet in the show, he always redeems himself, and he always gets that apology from Starfleet. Anytime they question him, anytime they go up against him, he is always proven right. And even in the instances when he is proven wrong, with, you know, the whole episode where he finds out that actually traveling through space with warp speed is damaging space, you see Picard have that inner turmoil. Again, the only time I've ever seen Captain Picard afraid of something is after the entire incident where he was Locutus, I can't even talk, Locutus, and he goes back to France, and you get to see the vineyard, you get to see his brother, you get to see how he even contemplates leaving Starfleet after that traumatic thing happened to him, and then he realizes he can't. He is loyal to Starfleet. Starfleet is his life. It's part of who he is, and it's part of his identity, and he leaves the vineyard. But you're telling me, after all of this, after Picard put his life on the line to go and rescue people that they had agreed to save, you're telling me that Starfleet disses him after that, all because of this completely other incident that had absolutely nothing to do with the initial problem, with the agreement with the Romulans? You're telling me that Captain Picard would get dissed from Starfleet for that? That some fucking interview lady goes to his house, disrespects him in his house, and then says, you chose Romulan lives over human lives? It's like, bitch, are you fucking kidding me? You are in the fucking future. You already got rid of all of that, you know, biasness between the Federation, between, well, Yes, there were still issues between Romulus and everything, but you're telling me you have that complete bias where you are biased over human lives, over alien lives? There could have been fucking hundreds of Vulcans, thousands of Vulcans on Mars. Did you decide to talk about them? No. There could have been thousands of Klingons there, but no, you had to highlight that the fact that Captain Picard chose to save other lives over human lives. That is not fucking Starfleet. That is not Star Trek. Humans had evolved past that. We were the United Federation of Planets. Not United Federation of Humans. United Federation of Planets. So that fucking line just shows how much the people that are writing Star Trek know absolutely fucking nothing about Star Trek and nothing about how great it was to see this idealized universe where humankind had risen above that bias and that racism towards not only different races, but different species. This isn't fucking Star Trek, and it's insulting. And it's insulting to Star Trek fans. It's insulting to the entire enterprise of what Star Trek stands for, and it's insulting to Jean-Luc fucking Picard. So I'm sorry, guys. I know this was a long video. I had a lot to say. Very frustrated, but that was the first episode. It's infuriating. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. If you actually watched it, don't do it to yourself, but, you know, to each their own. If you want to see it, I'm not going to, you know, hold you back from it, but prepare to be upset. Anyways, everyone, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's okay too. I'm dying right now. Oh, I almost got through the entire thing without coughing. And until next time, have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone.